you join with me in the invitation? Dear Lord, we come to you in prayer this evening to show our gratitude for all you have given us. We are thankful today for so many gifts. We are thankful for our family. We are thankful for our friends, our community, our church, and our employees. We are thankful for our veterans who have given us the freedoms and the opportunity to voice our opinions and vote freely for the person of our choice. Lord, lead us in our decisions and let us show respect in all that we do. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. Third item on the agenda is consider approval of October 19, 2020 regular and closed meeting minutes.
To approve.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move to consider conditional use permit 2003 for a bed and breakfast. First, I need to make a couple comments. Number one, in just a minute, I will ask everybody that wants to speak to be sworn in. If you wish to speak, you have to be a person with standing. And if there's a question on whether you're a person with standing, our attorney will make that decision. Second, council members, do you have any conflict of interest or conversations that you need to disclose at this point? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Everybody joining in this discussion. First, I'll ask anyone that wants to speak, come up. I would like to swear you all in at one time if you plan to speak. You got a Bible there? Come on, behind you, Ellie. Left hand Bible, raise your right, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony or evidence you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Ellie, if you would, as staff, introduce, please.
Thank you, Mayor.
Can I ask questions after the presentation?
You'll have to be sworn in. Come on up, I'll swear you in. Left hand on the Bible, raise your right.
You got the Bible on.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give or questions you may ask in this case be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. The item tonight is for conditional use permit 20-03 for property 343 North 2nd Street, tax record 22196. The applicants are David E. Scarborough and John T. Williams Jr. The property is zoned in a residential office district with no applied overlays. The parcel size is approximately 0.8 acres and is currently being used as a single-family dwelling. The property and request is for a bed and breakfast home, which per 92.076C1 is to be approved by City Council with a conditional use permit and must contain not more than 5 guest bedrooms operated full-time by the owner or resident, in which the length of stay to the guest is not limited to more than 30 days and provides sufficient off-street parking. On the first page of your packets, you will see both the definition for transient dwelling as well as our ordinance's zoning definition for bed and breakfast homes. The applicant met with staff in June 2020 to discuss their general plans for the bed and breakfast. We conducted a pre-application meeting on September 18th, 2020, as well as October 20th, 2020, where they submitted their official application. All public notice requirements have been met for this hearing. Per 92.101 City Code, we will be conducting an evidentiary hearing and comparing to 5 adopted standards. I will read both the standard, the applicant response, as well as staff's analysis. The first standard is that the use will not materially endanger public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved. The applicant stated that the single-family dwelling is a 2-story Georgian home, approximately 3769 square feet, and comprising of 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bath, 2 sunrooms, living room, dining room, large entry hall, laundry, and kitchen. All 3 bedrooms will be used as a B&B. The sunroom can be comprised as a 4th bedroom if needed for the owner or guest that cannot use stairs. 7 parking spaces are available on site, and there is no reason that the current structure as a B&B will have an adverse impact on traffic, public safety, noise, and public health. The staff analysis concluded that the potential adverse impacts of additional noise, congestion, and traffic may be negligible. The bed and breakfast will be utilized using existing residential space, and the only increase in use will be the addition of 7 on-premise parking spaces. The parcel in question is surrounded by many parcels that have higher and similar uses, including churches, retail establishments, single-family residential uses, as well as offices. The second standard is that the use meets all required conditions and specifications. The applicant responded that in 2017 and 2018, permits were pulled by Stokes Constructions for renovations to the existing house and property. The home is in compliance with all state building code and health code regulations for a B&B. And that per 92.076 of city code, the B&B shall have less than 5 guest bedrooms. David Scarborough shall be on-site operating the B&B. On-street parking shall be provided, and John Williams is willing to create a ledger regarding the 30-day occupancy limit. The staff analysis for the second criteria is that the renovations being done to the house have been permitted and all relevant parties have been inspecting on site. The bed and breakfast shall comply with zoning regulations regarding the owner or operator residency, limits on guest duration, as well as providing off-street parking. The third criteria is that the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting properties, or that the use is a public necessity. The applicant responded that upon review of existing fair market value of the adjoining properties, 407 North 2nd Street just sold for over $300,000. The investment in 343 and 415 exceeds this value and demonstrates that it will not injure the value of adjoining properties. While we did not receive an official formal study, as the applicant stated, the average value of those adjoining properties, excluding First Bank, is $124,000. With the Hall House and grounds being valued at $278,527 in April 2020. So there is reasonable evidence to suggest that the use will not materially or substantially injure adjoining property values. The fourth criteria is that the proposed use is in harmony with adjacent uses in terms of location, scale, site design, hours of operation, and operating characteristics. On page 3, the applicant responded that the property will be run by the owner as a bed and breakfast and the personal residence of the owner. The B&B shall be available 7 days a week with check-in at 3 p.m. and check-out at 11. The breakfast will be provided to the guests and meals will not be open to the public. Staff analysis says that the structure's a Georgian-era residence built in 1910. So the sizing and the scale of this residence is congruous with nearby residential homes on the block. Should all 3 existing residential rooms be used as a business, the sunroom can be used by the owner or the operator. The business will be run by that owner or operator, and hours of operation will be 7 days a week with check-in at 3 and check-out at 11. The application does state that the grounds of the property shall be used by guests as an occasional and secondary use for a venue in addition to the bed and breakfast. The last criteria is that it be in general conformance with our adopted plans. The applicant responded that with the property being zoned residential office and outside the city center, the property is in a mixed-use neighborhood and is in a low-impact commercial area. The 2028 land use plan shows that the site falls under neighborhood residential with proximity to the city center zoning as well as neighborhood commercial center. Staff analysis concluded that the existing businesses in the RO district, City of Albemarle future land use calls for this location to be used as neighborhood residential and defines neighborhood residential areas that are intended to provide for residential infill development with a wide range of housing types surrounding the town center area. Low-intensity businesses and uses in mixed-use buildings are designed and constructed at a residential scale, and appearance are also appropriate. Development considerations include the compatibility of infill development with existing building patterns. On page 3 of your packets, I included a GIS aerial image from 2019 that highlights the parcel, as well as shows some of those adjoining parcels. This property is at the intersection of Montgomery and 2nd. The next 5 pages of your packets will be the application submitted by Mr. Scarborough and Mr. Williams. And pages 12 through 15 include interior and exterior photos of the site. Page 10 here includes additional materials that were submitted to staff by the applicant with links to other nearby bed and breakfasts as well as articles. And I will let the applicant go through any photos that you would like to see and explain those rooms. And that concludes our report. We have the property record card as well as the certification of public notice requirements. So I would be happy to entertain any questions that council may have.
Just a point of clarification here.
Yeah.
On page 2, if you go to the bottom there, just before number 4, is that correct? I think it's just a typo. It says it excluding First Bank. Shouldn't that read First Citizens Bank?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, just, I mean, it's like I said, it's not anything major. I just want to make that correction.
Yeah, with that being a commercial property that obviously had a kind of outline high property value. So I did not factor that into the remaining property values of the other contiguous parcels.
Okay, because we have a First Bank and a First Citizens, so I just want to make that correction.
Yeah, you're correct. Thank you.
Council, have any further questions for staff? I'll bring up applicant and let him make any comments.
I'm John Williams. I appreciate you letting me speak tonight. I'll tell a little bit of history about the house, a little bit of stuff that the Scarboroughs have done to the property. The house was built by Dr. Hall in 1912. He lived next door in 407 North 2nd Street for a few years while he had this home built. He and his wife May had a daughter Evelyn that lived there together, and the house was designed for entertainment. It was designed by Louis Asbury, an architect from Charlotte, who also at that same time designed the Ritchie Kern House across the street and the John Eford home that is missing on West Main Street. The Eford home and the Hall House both have professional landscape designers do their yard work. Dr. Hall hired a landscape architect from Chicago in 1913 to landscape the yard. In 1923, he bought the adjoining property to the side. His brother-in-law, Dr. Richard Harrell, was going to build a home there, and instead he built the hotel downtown on 2nd Street, and that's where he resided for a few years. That garden was designed by E.S. Draper, a landscape architect from Charlotte. He put in the garden in the pergola, and we have a list of the plannings. The entire garden plan cost $275 in 1924. We had a company estimate what it would cost today, and that would be around $175,000 to put back the same landscape. So a pretty impressive garden. The house has not been owned by too many people. The Halls built the house. Their daughter Evelyn was an incredible person. We have tons of information about her life. She graduated from Trinity College when she was 16 or 17 years old. She traveled the world for 3 months. We have all her letters and every place she went in 1931. She moved back to Albemarle in 1941 to go to the house. The Scarboroughs purchased the house in 2018, and the house was in the condition where much longer it would have been in pretty bad disrepair. And they spent about 2.5 years restoring the house. So the Scarboroughs have drastically changed the neighborhood since 2009 when they purchased the Indian house on the corner. They purchased the Sinclair gas station across the street, the old A&P store, the old natural gas, and then the Hall House. And then last year they bought the Holbrook House, which Nicole and I purchased from them a few weeks ago. During that time, they planted over 40 trees along the street and landscaped 2 yards. The Hall House is in the process of being listed on the National Register of Historic Places. All the paperwork's done. We're just waiting on the state to finalize that. There are other bed and breakfasts in places in town other than hotels. You have the 1891 Inn, ran by Charity and Lawrence on Peak Avenue, 1913 Baby Inn, Fork Lodge, across the pond is in Salisbury, and the Dream is in Wadesboro. Like you said, the house has 3 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. The main floor of the house is ADA, has a ramp, and a full wet bathroom and a sunroom that can be converted into a bedroom if needed. David Scarborough is moving into the home. He will be the innkeeper. His daughter Ann Scarborough, Brandon, and I are helping him with bookings and marketing and assisting with running of the inn. We also plan on listing on Airbnb and VRBO to help rent the house. The garden is going to be used for weddings. We hope to have a few concerts, some movies at the pergola, and maybe an Easter egg hunt every year. The restrooms for outdoor events will be rented, whether they be porta-johns or plush lush. The garage is eventually to be converted into restrooms, a dressing room, and a warming kitchen. A few things are left to do in the house. We still have driveway work to do and a fence to put in the back. And our goal is to have all the events end at 10 o'clock at night, even though there's an 11 o'clock noise ordinance. So that's a little bit about the home and what we would like to do with it.
Council, any questions of the applicant?
Well, he answered the question that I was going to have because I knew no one was living there full time right now. And within the application, it talks about the homeowner and that kind of thing. And so David is going to move there.
It's a transition to the house.
Further questions, council? Does anyone else have any questions or want to make a presentation, council?
I do.
Sure, step up.
Oh, real quick, I forgot the other thing it is. Integer place. Now, we have the historic floor plans. I'll talk to my lady, see. We also have the original landscape plans and things too.
Come on up.
So, I'm good? I'm Ron from the 1891 Inn. And I want to know if there's any difference between when we opened the B&B, where it was required that we live there, than this application. If it's the same, so you're saying David Scarborough is going to move to that facility. I have no issue with David or John, of course, and I'm welcoming another B&B in town, so don't get me wrong with that. But if the rules have changed, then as an owner of the B&Bs, and there'll be hopefully other B&Bs that come to town, so what is the rule? Does he have to live there, or does, I don't understand. Kevin tried to explain it to me, but it was, I drink a lot, so.
Yes, if I may address that question, sir. So, per our city code, it can be, the bed and breakfast home definition includes no more than 10 guests on the owner or operator's primary residence.
Okay, so you're saying, so Scarborough owns it, and John probably will run it. So somebody else is going to live there and run the business? Somebody has to live there.
So I would.
So who's going to live there?
Yes, I would defer any of those sorts of questions to the applicant, but the applicant has informed staff both in written and verbal form that they do. Mr. Scarborough intends to move into this building, which would meet, one, the city zoning code, and also to work it out with North Carolina Fire and Building Code to maintain the home with the residential code compliance and that as well. But that is our understanding. And to your question about the rules, We did have an ordinance amendment, I believe in 2018, that defined and clarified some of these different definitions between bed and breakfasts and rooming house, and that's something that Kevin brought to you all.
Yeah.
But there's no
I never
difference.
understood the fact that, so what you're saying is that as owners of the property, I could get Billy Bob to come in there and run a B&B, and we can go back to Cornelius.
Per city zoning code, yes. Our
So
code
it's
defines
changed since
owner.
before.
That is for owner or the operator's
So it hasn't
primary
changed since
residence.
before.
But fire and building code require that in order to keep the house at a residential code compliance, that it must be the owner's primary residence. But this instance, our city codes and applications have not changed or differed between when they were applied to you or today.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin, you want to come
Yeah, let me swear in real quick.
Yeah.
All that.
I know you tried to tell me this before. I still don't get it.
out? You swear or affirm the testimony or evidence you're about to give is true, no truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I did. We did change that in ordinance. I don't know when exactly Mr. Perrin came in. I can't remember whether that was before or after we had the ordinance changed.
2019 is when.
2019. I think that was in place at that time. But we had, what we originally had in the city zoning ordinance, it said it had to be owner occupied. To be in compliance with state law in general, when it comes to zoning, you're really not allowed to differentiate between an owner or a tenant of a property, so we changed that to owner or operator. So if somebody was renting a large house and they had a long-term lease on it and they had an agreement with their property owner and they wanted to run it as a bed and breakfast, they could do that. The issue that we run into now is that it still has owner in both building code and fire code. So the city zoning code is a little bit more open with that than fire or building code is. So until those are updated, it still has to be the owner.
So it has to be the owner to meet fire code.
To meet fire code and to meet building code. But we did change it. We put operator in there when we changed the ordinances for dwellings.
And just point of clarification there, it has to be the owner that resides in the residence for the structure to meet code and be residentially applied. If the property owner is not the one living there, then the commercial codes apply, thus requiring a lot of those ADA compliance upfits and standards. So in the case of Mr. Williams and Mr. Scarborough will be permanently residing in the structure so that the whole house does not have to be upfit and meet commercial code.
Just point of clarification, Your Honor. So it sounds like to me that, and Kevin just said that we were more, Kevin, come back if you will, because I think though that is not a question, that may be a question that had just come to us that we need to make, that we need to understand completely. We are less stringent by what was, is that what I understand?
Yeah, we've changed the ordinance to be less stringent. Anytime you have an ordinance dealing with housing or anything resembling housing, I shy away from discriminating between owner or property owner and tenant or operator in there. Same kind of thing, you can have an office downtown, you don't have to own the actual building to have an office there. Anybody can rent out a house for any reason. So we're trying to be a little bit more, less restrictive with that. Unfortunately, building code and fire code does not differentiate between that.
Okay, so right there, we follow up then. Fire code and building code say for bed and breakfast that the owner
Owner occupied.
that must be their primary residence.
Under residential code.
And
it can, fire and building code allow for someone other than the owner to be in there operating it, but the building must be brought to commercial.
I understand
It's
it.
not, essentially not a bed and breakfast.
Okay, so in this situation, where this house is located, based on where it is, based on what they're asking for, with Mr. Scarborough moving there as his primary residence, we are fine. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yeah, as
Okay.
long as the owner lives there.
Further questions? No one else cares to speak? Council, are you ready to move on into considering the findings of fact. I would encourage you to bring up your findings of fact on the application, and you will see the staff analysis at the end of each one of them. First one is the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located or proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved.
Move approval.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Whitley. And is that based on the staff analysis?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Including that in the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number two, the use meets all required conditions and specifications.
Move to approve.
Would you include, if you're saying it's a staff analysis, would you include that in your motion?
Yes.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hughes. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number three, the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining and abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity.
Motion approved based on staff analysis.
Motion by Councilmember Whitley,
Second.
second by Councilmember Aldridge. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number four, the proposed use is in harmony with the adjacent uses in the terms of location, scale, site design, hours of operation, and operating characteristics.
Move approval based on staff analysis.
Motion by Councilmember Hall,
Second.
second by Councilmember Louder. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And number five, be in general conform with adopted plans.
So moved based on staff analysis.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Whitley. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Move approval of conditional use permit 2003.
Motion by Councilmember Hall to approve the conditional use per 2003.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Randall. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Any further questions or comments, council? Hearing none? Anything else you need, Michelle?
No, sir.
Thank you. Council, I have no agenda adjustments or unannounced delegations or administrative reports. Moving to number five. Adam,
Oh, yeah, you do have administrative reports.
excuse me, administrative reports are in your agenda. Does anyone have any questions?
No, that's what number 5 is, isn't it?
They're all under that. Adam Piker, LKC Engineering, to discuss sanitary sewer. The last meeting, Mr. Townsend asked us to delay that to this meeting so that he could review. I think he has reviewed, and if you have any questions, Mr. Townsend, we'll get that. Mr. Piker up here, if not, we'll proceed as you wish. Townsend, how do you want to proceed?
Well, I'd like to go back to the motion I had originally on the that we originally had 2 weeks ago, and if I could find the original motion, I'd make the same motion. And I don't mind doing that, or I'll make a different one tonight, whatever staff or whatever our council wants to do. Do you want me just to make
I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, I'm going to do exactly what I made last time, if I can find it. That was the original motion. Motion to move forward with the sanitary sewer rehab project phases 3 through 5 is currently advised by LKC Engineering in its proposal to council, increasing the project from 3.2 to 5.5 as estimated by LCK Engineering and pre-approved by the financing agency, of which we have been given a loan amount of $6 $1,156,000.
Have a motion by Councilmember Hall,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hughes. Further discussion?
And within this, there's no change of any money the money has already been there. There's no additional cost incurred by us. Thank
All
you.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
No.
One opposed. Under Administrative Reports 2, number 6, Autumn Extravaganza Report. Ms. Hall, I think you want to give that report.
No, sir, I didn't want to give it. I wanted to make sure it was on here.
Okay.
No, I do not want to give it, Your Honor.
Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. This past weekend, we concluded our autumn extravaganza, events that lasted pretty much the whole month. As you'll remember, back in September, I came and gave a report of the changes that we had to make due to COVID restrictions. So the first change was, rather than having the fall festival that was on that would have been normally the Thursday before Halloween, we did a food bingo, and 62 children participated in that and did the bingo and got candy bags. There was also virtual ghost tours that the History Center put on, and 1,247 people logged in and viewed those ghost tours. Let's see, Parks and Rec hosted a virtual costume contest. We had 28 people enter the contest. There was 2,400 and some people that voted on the costumes, and so that also netted us over 224 new likes to our Facebook page in just a week's time. So that was a very positive. Friday night we had 8 food trucks. We had 275 people attend the entire event. We also showed the movie Ghostbusters, and 103 people stayed to watch the movie. So that was pretty exciting. And then finally, to wrap up the weekend, on Saturday, we had the farmers market and a craft fair at Market Station. There were 26 vendors, and approximately 600 people came through between 8 and 4 on Saturday. We also had 4 food trucks that participated on Saturday. And I would just like to take this time to give a shout out to my staff member, Cindy Burris, for all of her hard work in putting a lot of this together. All the food truck events that's been her baby, and also the movie and the craft fair, and she really enjoys doing it, and so I'm very thankful for her, but I wanted to give her a public shout out.
And that's well deserved. She was there every night on it.
Yes.
Well, and a shout out to Lisa too, because Lisa has, even with Lisa being out some of the summer, I mean, you were there as much as you could be, and a shout out to the committee that has diligently met even through all of this and having to meet virtually a lot of the time. You know, to council, to my fellow council members, 6 weeks ago, we weren't sure we could do anything for Halloween or for the fall festival. So thank you very much.
And I'd like to add one more thing to my administrative reports that has nothing to do with Autumn Extravaganza. On October 1st, Parks and Recreation went live with an online registration and reservation system, and that is going phenomenal. So that's been well received. There hasn't been any hiccups. So thank you to my staff for embracing that change, and also for the help of finance and IS for getting that going for us.
While I've got you here, tell us what programs that you're going to be able to do and not do with COVID for the fall. Let's just talk about the fall.
Well, we did not do soccer this year because of COVID. We are attempting to do basketball on a limited basis. So we're trying to get 4 teams for each age group. And then what we'll do is also limit those, like the kids can only bring 2 guests with them to the games, and we'll only practice one time where we normally practice 2 times. And a lot of that is because of gym space. We have the Waddell Center, but we can't use the school system right now for indoor activities. That's the big thing. We did do adult softball, and that, I think we had double the number of teams than we had last year. So we had 16 teams in the combination of men's and co-ed softball. And then we are also doing our remote learning program at the Waddell Center. And then we are also a host site where the staff isn't doing it, but we're a host site at Niven Center for the middle schoolers when they get out of school, Monday through Thursday.
Thank you. We appreciate staff doing that.
Oh, we're doing pickleball now too, so.
Thank you.
I want to add one thing to this lady who brought the food trucks. On behalf of the people who love a Hunter Salisbury sandwich from one of those food trucks, I appreciate you doing that.
Absolutely. And we'll be back in March.
I will be there.
Great.
Number 7, the municipal calendar is in your agendas. Anyone have a question? Hearing none, we'll move on to consent agenda. Number 8, consider a request for payment in lieu of an assessment for a water line extension on Dick Street. Number 9, Piedmont Natural Gas easement proposal at 333 Keating Avenue. Number 10, Piedmont Natural Gas easement proposal at Elizabeth Heights. Number 11, ordinance 2029 to establish an alleyway and parking renovation project budget. And ordinance 2030, budget amendment to transfer funds to the alleyway and park project budget. Questions?
Your Honor, pull out number 10 just for clarification.
Sure. The motion to approve 8, 9, 11, 12. Motion by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Aldridge. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Hall, question?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. So I guess one of the sad things about having to get a paper agenda not versus being able to be at our computer is I had found on Exhibit A, number 10, Exhibit A of the Duke Energy easement at Elizabeth Heights. There is probably a typo, but I didn't want something coming that would end up being filed in the Register of Deeds office with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, Stanley, North Carolina. Doesn't have the correct town on it. I called Nikki and brought it to Nikki's attention this afternoon, and I'm not sure what or where that, or if we should approve it like that or what. So would offer that to staff.
Approve it with that change, I think would be the easiest thing to do.
Brent, is that what you? So I would move approval with the change when it is changed from Stanley, North Carolina to Albemarle, North Carolina.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Move to the new business. Number 13, consider an easement to Earnhardt Exchange LLC. Council, the side of the Louder Hardware Building on the Main Street side, going down the hill, all of that through that area will be bedrooms. In order for them to put bedrooms there, they must have egress to meet what kind of building code. In order to meet the building code, as you go up the hill, it will originally start, all the windows will be above ground. But as you go up the hill, it will get underground, and they will have to build window wells. So in order to build that window well, they have to encroach some on our sidewalk. Also, to protect those window wells, people from falling in, they will put a wrought iron fence similar to the one up front along the edge of the sidewalk all the way down where those window wells will be. This is not an unusual circumstance for us. We have had this one time before that I know of, and maybe more. When the bank was built remodeled on the square, we had to do the same thing for the 2nd Street side, give an encroachment to the bank. So So it's not something we haven't done before. I see it being no problem. Estimate is 6 to 8 inches. What I'm asking for tonight is if the council is agreeable with letting our attorney work out the encroachment agreement with the owner when they get the final plan. We don't have the final plan yet to know exactly how much that distance is, and then we'll come back to council for approval of that encroachment agreement.
Also move that.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Brown. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 14, discussion of city Christmas events.
I think that's me again. Again, this is recommendations from the Special Events Committee. The recommendation was to cancel the Christmas parade just because of the COVID and not really being able to social distance, mainly on the floats and then also people gathering on the streets. I know that, and maybe Mayor, you can speak to this, that we had talked about a virtual tree lighting. So I don't know if the date has been set for that or if that's going to be able to.
Tentatively, we're looking at the 28th, but now that could change if the Chargers of Freedom come in here and have basically got in front of October. We just don't know exactly what it's going to be until we get to that date.
Until the 28th?
Hopefully we'll know a little bit before that, but we don't know. If they show up the third week and dig up, tear up the whole front, I wouldn't think we would want to do it. So we'll make that decision and then we'll move forward.
Okay.
But tentatively, it is scheduled for November the 28th. I think it's 5:30.
Okay. And I believe that's going to be live on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to do letters to Santa. The Stanley County Library has agreed to put up a special mailbox so children can put their letters in the mailbox. I believe we're also or Santa is going to reply to those letters to the children, and that's going to take place from November 16th through December 12th. Downtown business owners are doing a window decorating contest, and we have decided to that the United Way of Stanley County will be the fundraising recipient of that. So it'll be $1 per vote for the storefronts, and all of those proceeds will go to the United Way of Stanley County. Let's see, there's a Jingle Bell Bingo shopping promotion, and that will take place from November 28th to December 19th for a minimum of the $10 purchase at each participating store or restaurant. And when people fill out their bingo card, they can redeem it at the pop-up shop for drawing for a prize, and prizes will be gift cards, vintage downtown Albemarle Christmas ornaments, and other items. Holiday Sounds at the Square. Joy has booked music to take place at the Square on Saturdays from November 28th through December 12th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Also during that time, we'll have a couple of food trucks out since there's a limited number of lunch places open right now downtown because of COVID. Holiday Tour of Homes is scheduled for Sunday, December 13th from 4 to 6 p.m. There are 8 sites, so we have the historic Snuggs and Marks homes, the YMCA Pavilion, which I believe is newly renovated, and the Hall House. The Tour of Homes Committee is requiring all guests to wear masks inside the tour sites and will limit the number of people inside each home at one time during the tour. There's also in the plans a Nutcracker stroll. So a committee at Albemarle Academy of Dance is working to create an afternoon stroll at downtown stores featuring live scenes from the Nutcracker. So that's scheduled right now for Saturday, November 21st.
Thank you. Council, have a question?
And the movies.
Oh, yes, sorry.
okay.
We're going to have movies at the Albemarle Neighborhood Theater on Friday, December 4th, 11th, and 18th. 80% capacity now, so that's 82 people at the theater. So I don't think we've decided on the movies yet, but that'll be this week, though. You'll see that on Facebook and advertised.
Thank you very much. Council, we'll come around the table. Just start with remind everybody tomorrow is your final opportunity to vote, and if you have not done so, please go out and vote. Let your voice be heard. Mr. Townsend. Mr. Aldridge.
Your Honor, exactly what you said. You know, we're looking at a record-setting election this year, so just to add the comments there. If you haven't had a chance to do it, please go out and vote. Let your voice be heard tomorrow. If you have friends or family or neighbors that need to go out to the polls, please get them out and make sure you help them get that civic duty accomplished. So thanks.
Mr. Ferris.
No comments.
Ms. Hughes.
No comment?
Ms. Hall.
No comment?
Mr. Brown. Ms. Loudon.
No.
And Mr. Whitman.
Okay, then some of the reports we're getting now, like Michael, this one kind of like we got there, has reduced dramatically the number of questions I had. So a lot of things are answered already. And as far as tomorrow, I think everyone's really voted.
It was very huge.
Good look, all some of y'all will leave 2 months left.
Council, thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Whitley. We will adjourn to our next meeting actually we'll adjourn to our work session on November the 9th at 4 p.m.
At the senior center.
at the senior center. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries.